Hi, Tony Selza. Welcome to the line. We've got such a treat today. A legend in the marketplace, in technology, in marketing, in the intersection thereof, the Valley, the Chasm Institute is really one of those organizations that is setting the tone for how technology goes to market. And the breakthrough of just understanding how to identify leaders, market specifically to them, to drive adoption through a marketplace. I mean, that alone changed my world. And we have the Director of Strategy Services on the show today. Betty Sproule is our guest. Betty, how did you get into all this? What talk to me about the Chasm Institute's, genesis and how you got engaged.
Well, the Chasm Institute started when Jeffrey Moore published Crossing the Chasm, a landmark book that sold over 1 million copies. Mm-hmm. I was working at Hewlett-Packard at the time, working on laser printers. Wow. And became very interested in the Crossing the Chasm techniques, mm-hmm. and applied it many times in my work at Hewlett-Packard. Mm-hmm. In 2003, I had the opportunity to join Chasm Institute. I've been there for the last 12 years because I really believe this works. And Chasm Institute helps teams go to market with new technologies. Yeah.
So, Betty, you started with the organization when you were 12, right? So
that, Tony.
Give us some of the tenets of what you do in helping these organizations really understand how to cross the chasm. I mean, how hard it is. It's so pertinent. I was just having this conversation. I apologize about being late for the call, but we were just having this very conversation. Talk to me about what is it you really try to get in their head early on?
Early on, we talked to teams about the tech market model. Mm-hmm. Any given team thinks their situation is completely unique. And in some ways it is, but there are patterns. Mm-hmm. And that's the pattern we call the tech market model.
Okay.
You have to start with early adopters and visionaries, mm-hmm. who see the promise of new technologies. Mm-hmm. The chasm comes when practical, pragmatic managers say it's not really reliable enough to be a prudent business decision. Mm-hmm. So crossing the chasm is getting pragmatic customers to adopt and recommend to their friends. Mm-hmm. And so there are patterns of what is successful and what is not successful, mm-hmm. based on where you are in the tech market model. Mm-hmm. Once you've crossed the chasm, you hope for a tornado, which is the rapid growth. Right. And then products that are successful in the tornado make it to Main Street, which is the ongoing commitment of customers to your product line. Mm-hmm. But the early stages usually get overlooked and assume that everything is an overnight success. But There's a lot of hard work before those rapid sales actually.
Well, I think, it's so powerful, like when you think about what the iPhone did. And I remember I was an early adopter to the iPhone, but I wasn't the innovator with it, right? I was in there generation 2, generation 3. And, and I was one of those guys that used to let Apple work the bugs out, right? And then people would, then I got it as a real business improvement. It really helped me being a mobile guy, communicate with my world, stay connected to my world, move and create decisions in my world. And the intuitiveness of it was so addicting, right? So, and then you watch everybody follow. And then it became the norm. It became like the thing, and it just moved through. And it's a really easy way for people to see your guys' model in action, right? Because it really followed that to a T. And the flip side of that is we just got done talking to a client that is moving out this clinical care as a membership. And they're struggling to figure out which market to go after. And they don't want to alienate one of the markets because this person could buy or that person could buy or this company over here, high, low budget, tech services all over the board. And I said, it's really not that hard. We got to go and focus on these early adopters. Everybody's going to chase. I mean, don't you really feel like that's one of the hardest things to do is choosing who to market to is not that hard?
Yes, it's very hard to pick the right target customers. Mm-hmm. And that's number one on our list of 9 things you have to look at. Mm-hmm. who is your target customer and why will they be buying. We call it the compelling reason to buy. Usually you're looking for customers who have a problem that's not being solved by current technology. Likely 80% of customers are satisfied with the status quo, but you're finding that group which has the problem, and that problem is important enough to them that they're willing to try something new because of the benefits it affords. So yes, if we look at the total life of a product, 100% of the customers eventually will come, but we're looking for that first 10 to 20% that will be our early buyers.
Yeah. I mean, even PayPal, which is like a household name these days, started with that power user group within eBay, and they used that group to train the entire marketplace on whether or not this is a viable product to use in your day-to-day life. And we know that was a successful play, right? I think it's so easy to look at it when you assume that it's part of your day-to-day life. But when you understand that the user group that really made that a real product and service was relatively small versus who's using it today, and you find that in a lot just in every space. I mean, in tech, this is so prevalent. Why is it so prevalent?
Well, Tony, I want to tell you a story about PayPal before I tell you why it's so prevalent.
Okay.
I was at the VC presentation, PayPal's initial VC presentation.
Wow.
And
you were 2 then, right?
Tell me again?
You were 2 then when you were at that VC presentation.
Yeah. Oh, flattery will get you anywhere, Tony. But yeah, I was at the original VC presentation. They gave a very good presentation, but at the end they said, for anybody who has heard this pitch today and gets the concept of PayPal, we'd like to offer you $10. Sign up. We'll put $10 in your account for free, and you can start using it.
Yeah.
What a classic story. They had a handful of people from the VC community who were engaged with the concept, who had been educated about what it was, and then they gave them a little incentive, and $10 is $10, and you say, oh, I can't pass that up. And I was one of the very first users of PayPal, but PayPal was very smart in how they went about it, their textbook case of what's happened. They are now on Main Street and looking for innovation, particularly the appliances on smartphones, to get very small businesses to be able to use PayPal. So the cycle repeats. You have to get started, and then you have to innovate even when you've been successful.
Well, and so even as young as that company is, I mean, we were the founder of Twitter was able to create another disruptive space in Square just by doing the same model he adopted before, because he understood the power of what you guys teach businesses to create, right? I mean, it's just like once you see those patterns, you're able to identify the match of the product and the service versus the leaders that can take that to market. And I think that's part of the power of this book. It's almost a blueprint of over time that you can, it's not, I mean, there are some iterations that everybody has to go through because it's not that easy, but you at least have a path for success, right?
Absolutely. You can have a path for success, and people who have been successful in launching new products often like that experience, know how to do it, have the skill set there. There's also a skill set for Main Street products. If we look at Apple right now, Steve Jobs was brilliant, but he would have become a little bored, if you will, by Main Street success. And Tim Cook seems to be very adept at marketing the annuity, if you will, of the Apple product line, which is what we call Main Street.
Wow. I mean, I got 2 minutes, and I want to make sure we get the best stuff. If you had one word that you're trying to get in the brains of the CEOs and the C-suites of the companies you're trying to work with, and you just want that transformational word to change their paradigm, what word would that be?
Value. Profit is the result of the value we create from our customers. And if there's really a value contribution for a new product, we can find the customers who will realize that value in their context.
Amen. Thanks so much for being on the show, Betty.
Thank you, Tony.
Awesome.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.